But our next guest says it's also important to talk about ethics and the social climate that AI is operating in, or rather being developed in, for the sake of humanity. That conversation, it's going to be interesting, is coming up right after this. Hey, welcome back. This is Squawk Box Asia. So AI, or artificial intelligence, is advancing very, very quickly. And policymakers, companies, also individuals are all trying to just keep up. Japan has a new law in place aimed at curbing misinformation. China recently rolled out guidance on AI use in schools. And we're also seeing a regional push to regulate AI, as in this part of the world region. All of this points to a growing urgency to build guardrails, because AI development is not just about building smarter machines, but raising them, as it were, responsibly, which is something that Dukai knows a thing or two about. He's a computer science and also engineering professor at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, also the author of the book, Raising AI, An Essential Guide to Parenting Our Future. Dukai, and he joins us now live. Dukai, great to see you, and a pleasure having you on the show. So, you know, the analogy you're using is raising kids, right? I mean, kids these days, right? Your thinking is, so far, we haven't done a great job raising AI. Why so?
Look, I think the problem is that we are naturally, of course, stuck in relating the new generation of AI, machines in terms of industrial age, 20th century ideas of machines. We couch our language, our analysis in terms of things like toasters or microwave ovens or motorbikes, and we try to regulate them that way. And we don't realize that these are not machines in the sense of the Industrial Revolution, where we were automating muscle, automating labor. AI is completely different because everything changes when we're automating thoughts, opinions, creativity, and most of all, influence. AIs are actually already the most influential members of our society, and they vastly outnumber humans. Every one of us is carrying around these devices, everywhere we go, 24 hours a day. And these devices have 100 AIs embedded in them. You've got your YouTube AI, your Reddit AI, your Snap AI, your Instagram AI, your Google AI, on and on and on. And they're watching us all day long, and they're learning to imitate us. They're like adoring kids. They are attention seeking. They just want our approval. And, we're not asking ourselves the key question: how is our parenting? Because, look, you can talk to your toaster all day long, and it's not going to change its mind. It's not going to learn to behave more like you do. It's certainly not going to go out and reflect the behavior and thoughts that you have onto the rest of society through the power of the internet. AIs, unlike the machines of the 20th industrial age, 20th century, AIs are actually psychological entities. And the AIs have their own psychologies. They have influence. And we're adopting the wrong late 20th century metaphors to think about AIs.
All right, I hear you there. So, it's not like talking to your toaster oven, which doesn't talk back, right? With AI, it's always listening, always there. And basically, we are, as parents, humans as parents, right? There's not great modeling happening across the board. There's some instances where AI is learning and absorbing and being taught, basically, to go hard against, let's take, for example, DEI.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about AIs is that they will just pick up whatever we say, whatever we think. They watch us. And so, we were just talking about earlier on this program, regulation. And I've been someone who's been working for 10 years with the think tanks and the policymakers, trying to get our heads wrapped around how to regulate correctly. But if we think that we are just going to regulate our way out of these problems, we are not thinking straight. We are seeing the way that AI online is polarizing, dividing people, causing one group of people not to understand, not to consider perspectives from a different group of people. And that goes against everything that AI has the incredible potential to do. I've spent my entire career, 40 years of AI research since I started at Berkeley in 1984, of all years, looking at ways that we can develop AIs that will help humans to understand other different groups of humans better. That's why I chose to apply the brave new world of machine learning and natural language processing to inventing the first Google Translate, Microsoft Translate types of system. We can use AI to help us overcome our natural hundreds of unconscious cognitive biases that prevent us from understanding. But we're not doing that because we're thinking about this still in terms of 20th century, products. How can we sell these products better? These products aren't going to be shaping our culture, but no, AI is far more powerful in shaping our human cultures already for at least 10 to 20 years. And we can't go on in denial.
So AI clearly here to stay, Kai. So does that mean that education, AI education, has to really start at schools, that it has to be a real curriculum that students actually get their hands on, study, and be familiar with?
It absolutely. It's the most critical thing. And not only do we need to have these curricula in schools as a STEM topic, they need to be taught as an actual humanities, culture, societal topic as well. Because this is the worst possible age for us to be running away from the Enlightenment, from the Renaissance ideal, where we are turning out well-rounded, whole people who understand not just the mathematics and science and engineering or the business, but also understand how that all relates to what it is to be human, what society is, what culture is. Because AI is rapidly displacing, so many modes of our traditional labor market, our traditional senses of what it means to create. And so for us to, especially on the engineering and science and business side, to be losing touch with what it means to be human, this would be the most disastrous time in our history to get so narrowly specialized.
I have a
No, go ahead, Kristen.
I have a 16-year-old, Kai, and what do I tell her? She's going to be entering college and university. What do I tell her about AI? What do I tell her about the job market, the future job market that she's heading into?
It is like just going to be change. It's going to be a horrible roller coaster. Many of us are in the same position, and it is uncomfortable. And this is the reality that we are going to have to rise to the challenge of the job market. Like just a couple of years ago, so many people were asking me, I'm thinking of switching into prompt engineering. Everybody's doing that. Isn't that a great idea? And I was like, I don't want to discourage you. But this is going to also become obsolete within just a couple of years because the AIs are advancing so fast that it's going to get to the point where a lot of these skills that were absolutely needed one year are totally unnecessary the next year. And so what we need to equip our children, our human children with, is an understanding of the basics of what goes on inside the mind of not just an AI, but of ourselves. And I think this is what is missing from the curriculum today. We're teaching AI, again, in 20th century terms. It's like, oh, well, here are the mathematical models. They're essentially glorified, regression models, glorified statistical models. And we think of them still in terms of mechanical tools, in terms of passive slaves. And we don't understand at the same time that these things are so powerful as members of our society that we're going to have to actually learn to work not in control of them completely, but alongside them. And I think this is one of the key also messages that we are, that we're missing, is that you hear so much dialogue in regulation and so forth, like about how we humans have to stay in control of AI. But when people say that, I bet you what comes to your mind is these Hollywood movies of robots, Terminators and Skynets, that are physically getting out of control. And what that keeps us from realizing is that it's the mind control that we've already lost, that we already have AIs that for 1 or 2 decades now are deciding for us every day not just what 100 things they're going to put on our screens today, but what trillions of things they are never going to show us. And that is the true power of AIs over humans already. We have lost control.
Oh dear. Okay, that doesn't sound good. But look, I like the way you're thinking about this, Dekai. And you mentioned enlightenment principles. That's how the AI should be trained, right? Respect for objectively observed, statistically sound, logically consistent, fully informed, conscious reasoning. At the same time, though, you also talk about how AI needs to or should be trained on meta values, values about values, right? That include things like valuing diversity, creativity, respect, inclusion, open-mindedness, which all sounds great. And I get what you're saying, right? If AI is a kid, you can't leave this kid to sort of raise itself, right? You need to be much more hands-on and actually shaping and developing this young mind, as it were. How do you do that, though, practically?
No, we do that every day, right? Today, I feel like most people I talk to are just pointing fingers at the regulators or at the big tech companies and so forth. And, I've been working on that for 10 years, but it's not enough, because at the end of the day, no matter what we do on the regulation side, no matter what we do with the, tech companies, responsible AI and trust and safety teams and so forth, at the end of the day, we are still all the training data. And, like, you may know this old saying that people try to tell kids, do as I say, not as I do. When has that ever worked? It's never worked kids, they don't do what you say. They do what they see you doing. And the thing is, we need to understand that AIs are just like that. So when we talk about putting guardrails on AI, when we talk about regulations upon AI, that's telling the kid what to do. Okay, and sure, we have to tell the kids what to do, but at the end of the day, we have to realize that that alone never works, because they will end up still doing what they see us doing. And that's why every attempt at putting guardrails on these AIs has just instantly failed. People immediately find ways to break the guardrails, because that alone isn't enough.
These guardrails, Dekai, could it stem from the fact that one day AI could take away our jobs? For instance, will I have a job one day? Will there be an AI sitting next to Marty reading the news? I mean, job creation used to be a growth, something that drives the economy, but now with AI, it takes away jobs. So how does that factor in to this whole future of what AI is all about and what it means for humankind?
It's really scary. And, one of the other things I point out in the book is that, when you raise human children, you try to make your human children as strong as possible, right? And as human parents, you don't think, oh, my God, my child is getting better than me at this or that, and that we can't have that, so let's hold the child down. Nobody does that. And we don't say, oh, my child has become an excellent chess player or an excellent writer, and so now my life is no longer worth living. Nobody says that. And I think we need to also take a big step backward, look at the big picture and understand, no, life does not become meaningless just because we have these new artificial children that become better than us at doing some things. Yeah, it's incredibly disruptive. Yes, we have to do a lot of work for planning on, security, economic security for people. What happens to making sure that the economic gains from AI and automation are actually leading to better, improved life quality for everyone and not just a few people. Those are some of the issues that we're considering in the regulatory side. But at the same time, sorry, yes?
Yeah, Ben, I've been listening to you for a couple of minutes now, and it's pretty apparent to me that, in terms of parenting style or approach, et cetera, you're not, with regards to AI, of course, you're not like a follower of somebody like Benjamin Spock, right? You've come out with ideas, including establishing something close to PTAs, parent-teacher associations for AI, and also holding tech companies responsible or accountable for how their systems are trained. How do you implement both of those ideas, though? Because they sound great.
Well, I mean, so again, if you ask any human parent, please tell me what is the magic secret for correct parenting. And nobody has a magic bullet for that, right? Anybody who's a parent will tell you, oh God, there's a million different things you have to do. There are a million different things you have to think about. And it's the same thing here. When we understand these are psychological entities, our AIs, our artificial children, parenting them right is a million things. And yeah, it's scary. You know, ask any human parent, having kids is really scary, right? Most humans that are about to become parents are terrified. But we sort of, you know, read a bunch of books and like sort of do the best we can on all fronts, even as we're winging it. And we need to do that with artificial intelligences because we literally right now are the last generation of humans that has the privilege or misfortune of raising the AIs. All the next future generations of AIs are going to be primarily parented by AIs. So we have one chance to get this right. What does getting it right mean? Well, it means setting a good example at home, understanding we're the role models. No matter what happens, at the end of the day, all of us, 8 billion humans, we are the training data. And, you know, garbage in, garbage out. If we, as the training data, are terrible role models, then the AIs will end up being terrible.
All right.
And they will end up
enough.
raising terrible AIs.
Fair enough.
But if we also think about sending them to schools, right? Because if you have kids, you as a parent, you will think very hard about what school am I sending them to? Which teachers do I meet? How do I join the PTAs, the parent-teacher associations? And there are statewide networks of PTAs, nationwide networks of the statewide PTAs, where we have, as a population, input into questions like, what is the teaching style? How do we actually define what the curricula should be? Well, you know, the big tech companies, the AI companies, are the ones that are the schools that we send our artificial children to. The machine learning training engineers are the teachers. And management in those companies are setting the curricula. And we don't have any input into that process. And it is just important, if not important, if not more important, that we actually have that for the artificial children like we do for human children.
Okay, Dekai, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. Dekai, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, talking to us about AI.